much for joining me today. I very much appreciate that. As you know, I like to invite people of all places in their property journey so that we can all just share and learn together. So would you mind telling us a little bit about your property journey so far?
Sure. I started, I suppose, I became a landlord accidentally in 2005 when we decided to move. We were living in Ireland at the time and decided to move down the country with our first child, and we wanted more space, etc. So it was just after the boom around 07, 08. So selling the house was not an option. So we just decided, right, well, let's just hold it and rent it and see how we go. It was in a really good location, but it wasn't something we had entered into. We didn't really think about buy to let. We had no strategy. We just kind of fell into it because of the circumstances of the market. And subsequently, we still have that house. It's something that rents really well. It's in a brilliant location near the airport. And it's doing really well at the moment. It's on a government contract actually, and that's one experience I've had and I really like doing actually is renting houses to people who struggle to find them, and who've problems getting into houses. So, and then we moved down the country, bought our home, and then we decided to move again, and in a similar predicament. So we thought, yeah, sure, we've done it once, we can do it again. So we rented our second house out and moved to the Isle of Man. And so then we were landlords, and we had somebody managing it for a while, but I actually found myself better able to manage it, and I like to have direct contact with the tenant so that there wasn't a delay between the management agent and us getting back to them. So I like to respond pretty quickly to them and get stuff sorted as if it was my home. So it was kind of something we fell into, but I felt very comfortable dealing with. And then when we moved here, we just rented for a little while until we bought our own home about 1.5 years ago. But somewhere along that line, I've been studying wealth management myself for the last 5 years, and property is one part of the wealth pyramid that I've been studying, and it's one that I hadn't consciously been giving any time to. Just like I said, the houses that we kind of fell into. And then it came on our radar. I'd done a lot of work on the equity side, was very comfortable with that piece, and then became blatantly aware my balance in terms of wealth was out of whack. Equities I was very heavy on, but property I was light on in comparison. So I thought, right, yeah, it needs a little bit of work. So we started to think how I might do that, and then the masterclass with Progressive popped up. And it wasn't something my husband was interested in. His risk tolerance is totally different to mine, a bit of a risk taker, and he's very conservative. So he said, no, not my cup of tea, don't want to do it. So I said, right, okay, well, how am I going to do this? So I found my partner in crime, a friend who we've been friends for over 20 years, and she was on a similar mission, and we had a really good complementary skill set. And we decided to do this together. So attended our masterclass, everything got moving in our heads. And then that was in March. It was the last masterclass before lockdown in Peterborough. And then everything shut down. We thought, oh, sugar, what are we going to do? So we started to, make phone calls, do more study, start to make a plan, and everything. We had both decided that our sweet spot was the northeast of England. My husband is from the northeast. I visited regularly. I know the area. I've lived there myself for a couple of years, and my partner had studied there. So she studied and worked there for about 5-6 years. So we both had a relatively good handle on it, even though we didn't live there currently. So we came up with plan A, and plan A was quite piecemeal as to how we could manage it remotely. She's in Ireland and I'm in the Isle of Man. And plan A was very itty-bitty, involved lots of different moving parts. And it would have worked, but it would have been a bit clunky. And then we magicked upon a partner in the northeast who is very well established and had everything that we wanted in one place. So we thought, oh, this is kind of maybe a bit too good to be true. And so we teased it out. We did our due diligence, and voila, we found ourselves from armchair at arm's reach, being able to buy our first property, which we bought in the northeast just before Christmas. And we've got 2 more completing at the moment, with a 4th in the pipeline. And this has all been done. We've never seen them. We've never actually met our partner in person yet. Lots of people think we're insane for doing what we've done, but we're happy that we were able to do our due diligence remotely. So that's where we're at. We have a goal of, we worked backwards in terms of we knew what we wanted to do. We both had a separate, we had a specific idea of the cash flow that we wanted to generate from the properties. We worked out what each one would make. We know we need about 15, 20 properties to get to the income level we both want. And we've got, we should have 4 over the line in the next couple of months. And we're hoping to get 12 by the end of the year. But with COVID, things are going so slowly that we just don't know, but that's our goal. So that's where we're at right now. And then I've got another piece kind of running in the Isle of Man, but that's a bit more of a slower start, but that's where we're at so far.
That sounds like a lot has happened very, very recently. May I ask, so you've got a business partner near you, one of your good friends, and then you've got your third person,
Yep.
the person that sources the properties because they live up in the northeast, right? Excellent.
Yep.
Can I ask how you're funding these projects?
The first one we bought in December, we kind of cobbled together cash between the two of us. We both had cash sitting in various places, not doing much. And we pulled together and we had enough for our first. And then our number 2 and number 3 they're all going on a commercial mortgage. So the first one is being refinanced and it will pay for the second and third one, the deposit of those with a little bit of cash back out. First experience of commercial mortgage. Yeah, that was pretty good. We were pretty impressed because we had one in our head. We thought, yeah, let's get one over the line. And then just 2 more fell in our lap. So we thought, okay, well, let's try commercial. Never done it, no idea. Massive learning curve. Very frustrating at times, very costly. In terms of I had no clue about, there was lots of other costs. Like say we had to pay for the legals for the commercial mortgage for the lender. Never knew that. 2.5 grand lighter because of it. We thought, huh?
Is that right? Was it on a bridge?
No.
Oh, okay. I know that when you do a bridge, you have to pay for their solicitors and stuff. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. No, not at all. No, it was just a commercial mortgage. I think it's pretty straightforward. Apparently, it's quite standard. We had to do personal guarantees. There were a lot of extra costs in there that we didn't preempt, but it was a very, very steep learning curve. It was good, and we're still going through it. But because we had 3 properties in the one go, when we're putting it through in the mortgage, we were able to kind of divide the costs across 3. So it didn't feel quite so steep. If those costs, those costs would have been the same if we had 1 property or 3 properties. The fact that we have 3 just helps us kind of make the profitability a bit higher because we can divide it out over 3 as opposed to 1. So we were glad about that. But it was good. And in the meantime as well, with what I'm doing in the Isle of Man, the legislation is different here. We're under Manx legislation, not English law. And so I'm not able to operate here without being a qualified estate agent. So I very quickly last year had to scramble and do an estate agency qualification, level 4 certificate in retail residential estate agency. And I'm waiting for the results on that at the moment. So it's been a huge learning curve. Definitely, I'd say 90% was education focused for me in the last year. And then a large part of the work has been lifted for us because we've been working with somebody who's very experienced. And it just, some people have looked at what we've done and thought, no, I'm not moving on it until I can, actually visit the Northeast, see the properties, etc. And we thought, okay, well, both of us were comfortable with it. We thought, well, there's very little that we can't see and can't check out online. So why would we wait, who knows how long, until we can actually get there? That was our initial reaction. But then when we started moving, we came across with our partner. We thought, well, to us was kind of a no-brainer once we'd done our due diligence and we knew this person was good and we could rely on them. And they've proved themselves time and time again that they've been a joy to work with and made it possible in circumstances that many people probably wouldn't have proceeded. So we've been really grateful and lucky that we made such a connection.
Can I ask, you obviously aren't saying their name on purpose. I've got a feeling I might know who it is, but I won't ask on the video. So do they source for other people? This is what they do full time. They don't just work for you, but okay, cool. And so how did you meet them again? How did you find them?
Total chance. You know when you come across somebody and somebody keeps mentioning the same person's name and different people mention the same name, and you think, okay, that's not a coincidence. I definitely believed in that kind of stuff. There's no such thing as coincidence. So the person's name popped up in different forums. We were looking at crowdfunding, the person's name popped up. We were looking at compliance stuff, their name popped up. We were looking at progressive stuff, their name popped up. The name just seemed to be, no matter where we looked. And like I said, initially, they weren't our plan A. We had a plan A, but it was piecemeal and clunky. And when this came our way, we thought, hang on, this is really simple and really easy. And we were a little bit lazy, and we thought, yeah, okay, look, if this all rings out well, and everything checks out, well, then why wouldn't we? Because initially, my initial reaction, because we'd spent the 4 days doing masterclass, we'd done quite a bit of study and research ourselves, and we'd gone through all the steps. And when I was the proposal came in, you're going to have to pay a sourcing fee of 3,000. I was like, oh God, 3,000, really? I'm going to pay somebody else £3,000 to do something I can do. And it didn't sit right with me. But then I thought it through. I thought, hang on a second now. This person is getting off-market deals that I'm not going to get sight of with, it's just not going to happen. It's based on relationships they've built up over a number of decades. The person can manage the whole thing. They've got the experience. They've got their own portfolio. They're in the area. They have a team of tradespeople. They can do the entire thing. That is actually worth more than 3,000. And when we looked then at some of the capital values of what was coming across, we thought, well, the increase in capital with what we were getting in terms of the difference between market value and purchase price far exceeded the 3,000. And that was, that didn't take into account all the time and effort that went into it. And we had no part to play in that. But hang on, actually, when I look at this from a different perspective, this is actually money well spent. So we set about, proceeding with that. But my initial reaction was, no, why would we do that? We've got the skills to do it. It would be a waste of money. But when we looked at it again with a different perspective, it was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. We should be jumping on this, and we did.
That's a similar story to me, except I haven't been as successful as you. So I was interested in the Northeast, so I went up there quite a few times. Every month I went up there for a couple of days, but it cost me a lot of money in petrol. It's like a 6-hour drive. I had to pay. I stayed in a travel lodge. I then got to pay to eat 3 times a day. Sometimes I had to take the whole family because they were upset that I was going away in half term, those kind of things. And it cost lots and lots. It cost about £300 every time I went up there. And I had a similar thing. I met a sourcer, and after going up there about 5 times, I was like, you know what, it is worth the money, because then my sourcing fee covered the management of the refurb as well. Did yours? Or did you have to pay additional?
No, it didn't. That was separate, but the refurb was pretty low. I mean, the cheapest refurb we've had so far was about 1,300, and the most expensive was about 1,800. So it's not. It hasn't been huge fees. So no, it didn't include it.
Yeah. So okay, but yeah, no, it's good. I totally see why people do use sourcers, and I think I was already training to become a sourcer myself at the time. And I wasn't very confident in it at the time, but then I realized, no, they are worth their value, because they go out and find the off-market deals.
Exactly.
Are you doing sourcing yourself as well?
Well, it's a lot of our stuff has kind of fallen into our laps. Bizarrely enough, my partner that I'm working with in Ireland, she's the luckiest person I know. She's just unbelievable. And when I'm working with her, even when I'm doing anything with her, all sorts of crazy things happen. And that's sourcing, because I'd done the deal packaging course last summer as well, and I was all set to do that too. And I am still doing that here. But what we're taking a slightly different take on it, because for some reason, not sure exactly why, the individual we're working with in the Northeast actually invited me to become an acquisition manager for them. I just totally by chance I had a conversation with somebody last summer who I've never met, and they were asking me, they were saying what they were looking for, and I said, oh, you should talk to this person. Just not thinking anything of it, just connecting somebody, because it's something I like to do. You can help each other, talk to each other. And they got in contact, and this person had already completed on a deal before we did. And a partner in the Northeast came back to us to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to pay you a fee for that. And we thought, huh, really? I didn't even have a conversation. I was actually on, the conversation was on Messenger. So I've never actually spoken in person to the person. So I was like, I'm getting paid money for sending a message to somebody I've never met, who's, put two right people in contact, and now I'm being paid a fee for it. I thought, oh my God, it's the easiest money I've ever made in my life. And then just at the same time, a partner in the Northeast said, this could be something you could do in the long term with us. And I thought, yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Yeah.
Have a decent sized network here, have a good sized network in Ireland and the UK. And so we're working on a formal basis with them now as acquisition managers. Yet we don't have to do the sourcing. We're just doing the introducing. So we're providing kind of a lineup of people who are looking for what we're looking for, and that's the way we're working. So I suppose, I don't know if you'd call it sourcing or introducing as an introducer, but being paying for it. So
Yeah,
happy days.
like a finder's fee, but the opposite way around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So not as such. And the same, we're probably going to start doing some sourcing in the Isle of Man, but until I have my estate agency exams, I can't actually operate anything on Manx property. I can operate here as say a finder's fee for people from here to operate in the Northeast with our partner, but I can't do anything until I sort our estate agency exams. So waiting on that.
And in terms of the people that you would advise speak to your partner up north, because that's a good link, what are the kind of criteria for the ideal client that you would suggest that they work with them? What kind of money would they need, and what kind of money would they be looking? Are they always get your money out deals, or are they leave money in deals? How does it work?
Well, so far what we've looked, the people who I referred to them have been people who have had cash sitting in the bank doing diddly squat. And with the yields that we're looking at in the Northeast at the moment, they're about 17, 18%. Because of the type of sweet spot and the type of properties that he's working with. So it's primarily somebody who is looking for income. If the capital increase on them is a bonus, but it's definitely not the reason you'd go into it. So if I have a conversation with somebody and I know they're looking for a capital uplift, I wouldn't refer them there, because that's not something that's going to happen easily, not with the route that we're looking at. But our primary focus is if somebody's criteria is their income, they're looking for a cash flow, I would introduce them per property. So say if we work off the average price, the three properties we've bought, the first was 46 and the second two were 48 and 50. So roughly say working off 50,000 for sake of ease, 25% deposit. So you're going to need 12,500 deposit, and then a few thousand extra for your various fees and whatnot. So the first one, I think I don't understand all the ins and outs, with being totally upfront, because I had a conversation with somebody during the week and they had just bought one, but they weren't able to refinance. And I think it's because theirs was on a buy-to-let mortgage, but because ours is on a commercial mortgage, I think the time frame of 6 months doesn't apply. So that's why we were able to get around it. But I think if your primary goal is income, and you have either the cash to buy one totally upfront, around 50, 60,000, or you have a deposit plus the expenses, then that would be a match, and that you're not looking to get your cash out that quickly, because we're happy to leave our money into it for now as we build our portfolio and see how it's going to play out. But it's early days for us. We don't have clear line of sight as exactly how it's going to play out. We are also looking at working with people who are happy to lend us the money. So we're working through options on that at the moment. We're open-minded on it. We know that we want 15, 20 properties, and how we acquire those, we're really open-minded as to how we go about it.
That's cool. It's interesting what you say about capital appreciation, because that's something I talk about quite a lot, actually, because I'm in Essex, but just on the outskirts of London. So capital appreciation is like really, really good. But I have one buy to let, like I said, and that's in Darlington in the northeast. And when I bought that was all I could afford at the time. I bought that for 51. So yeah, I bought that, and then afterwards I thought to myself, oh, sometimes I think I wish I'd waited until I had a bit more money so I could have bought something here. But the house I bought up there is humongous compared to the house I live in here. And so this house is smaller, but it costs 6 times as much. So it's crazy what you can get in
Yeah.
parts of, well,
Well, that's it. You know what? We were halfway through masterclass when my buddy and I had a realization, because we were also at that point, in masterclass where you had to decide your gold mine. I was trying to think of the word. And so we went home that night to the hotel and we sat down with a glass of wine. We said, right, okay, let's get clear on this. Let's do black and white numbers on it. So we picked 3 properties in Ireland in 3 different locations: in Dublin, one in the Midlands, and one on the West Coast where my friend is from. And then we also picked one in the Northeast. And we had the same criteria down the left-hand side. We picked purchase price, what we needed to deposit, what the rent would be. And we did all our research just on common websites online. We worked it all the way through, and we got our gross yield and our net yields, whatever. And we looked at them. And then it was immediately obvious as to why. We looked at the yields, and the yields were, like you see in the area in Dublin where we have one of our rented properties, it was about 15-20%. So it was really high. And we were looking at the yields in the Northeast, and they were 7 or 8. We were thinking, why would we do that? It just doesn't make sense. Like, why would we invest our money in the Northeast? And then the penny dropped, and I was like, okay. We looked at the money that we would need to invest. So we thought, for the price of one property in Ireland, with 12-15% return, 15-20, whatever it was, we could actually buy 6 properties in, so similar to your analogy, we could buy 6 of them. So 6 times 7 was 42. So we thought, okay, this is a no-brainer. Like, we were trying to compare, to find a commonality between, to make it kind of, we were comparing apples and oranges, but we were trying to find one measure that would make it clear to us as to why we would use our money which one of these we would pick. And initially, as we looked at it, we thought, well, duh, it has to be Dublin because it's got the highest yields. But then we thought, okay, hang on. If we, in theory, had 100,000 to invest, how many properties could we buy here, and how many properties could we buy in the Northeast? And then it was like, ping, okay, now we get this. Now we know why we were leaning towards the Northeast. It's clear as day from looking at, real life examples. If we had X amount of money and what we could buy with it, and then that was it. Once we had clarity on that, it was like, no, Ireland wasn't even in the frame. It was gone, and it was Northeast, and we were just out of the tracks. But that was a real light bulb moment for us as to why it made sense, even though the yield per property was lower.
I see. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, that's why I bought mine up there as well. But then it just gets you thinking. I mean, and you said you've never met this sourcer. The sourcer I used, I did meet him in person, and I viewed some of these properties, that put me at ease. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you conduct due diligence on people that you've never met before. That would be quite helpful for people to learn, I think.
Yep, cool. It's a lot of finger in the air. And I think as a female, I would say my primary due diligence is intuition and not ignoring any niggles. So I had a couple of niggles. I got on Google, and that uncovered some stuff for me, and I had some full and frank conversations at that stage as to, I need to make a decision. I discovered some information that was like, oh, sugar. What am I going to do here? Am I going to walk away, or am I going to have a difficult conversation? So I had a difficult conversation because I wasn't prepared to let it slide. And it was fine. It was explained out, and off we went. But I talked to, Google, my intuition. I talked to several different people who that person worked with. I kind of slowly went through the motions, and we made different arrangements. Were the arrangements kept? Were what the person said they would do done? And just generally kind of kept my finger on the pulse as to, did it feel right? Because I've worked with many people before, and I just, when you just know something's off, and just everything fell into place. Everything was as it said it was. Anything we asked for was done when it was said it was going to be done. And we just very slowly over the course of, I would say, 5 6 months, because there was a lot of toing and froing in the beginning, with paperwork, etc. We got to know the soul to that person, and we found several different situations of him working directly with tenants. I was supposed to be having a call with him on a Saturday, and he was in the hospital with the tenant because an elderly tenant had fallen, and just different things. We got a flavor for that person, and over time, like it wasn't an overnight decision. And it built up until it was December 23rd when we had our first completion. So yeah, it just, yeah, those were the steps. I think nothing. I don't have a checklist or anything black and white, but it's kind of I trust my intuition as my number one guide on it, and then just how it all played out and fell into place. And if I had any red flags at any stage, I have a very open relationship with them, and I would just ask them straight out, look, this has happened, doesn't seem right, or what's your take on this? And I would get a very straight, quick, honest answer back, and I just went from there, really.
Okay, cool. Going back to the fact that you're working with your close friend, has that relationship had any strain on it? The fact that now you're in a business relationship, does that change things at all? No.
Not between us. We've known each other for over 20 years, and when we did I can't remember the name of the test they do during masterclass. It's whatever kind of there's some kind of profiling that you do. What's it called?
Is it wealth dynamics where you find out like what you're good at and what you're
No, it wasn't the wealth dynamics one, but some other kind of profiling test where you decide, you look at kind of your skill set and how they married together. And we were basically, I was everything she wasn't, and she was everything I wasn't. And it was just like a match made in heaven. And she is very happy-go-lucky, very chilled out, but she's very good at details. I am rubbish at details, and I'm more likely to get highly strung about something. So when I'm losing my mind with a solicitor who just is not hearing what we're saying and we're going around in circles, I pick up the phone to her and she just laughs. And we say, it's fine. Look, in the scheme of things, it'll all be fine. So we work really well together. And even when we were putting in our mortgage application, actually, we obviously had to demonstrate to the lender that we were, because we bought it buying our properties through a limited company, a UK limited company. We needed to demonstrate to the lender that we were a good option to lend to, and our skill set kind of blended there as well, because I'm in the position at the moment, I'm home educating 3 munchkins, and I don't have a regular income at this point, so a bit of a problem with the mortgage application. However, my experience as a landlord for 15-16 years was my strength, and my business background. My degree is in commerce. I'm a qualified financial advisor, and she had no property experience. She doesn't own any property until now, and she has regular income. She works as a pharmacist. So we both, again, had the kind of, it just fitted together, and so far, touch wood, all's been good, and we're on the same page. We got ourselves very clear up front as to what we both wanted, and we know each other long enough just to chat it out if anything pops up. But so far, it's all plain sailing, thankfully.
That's perfect. And what about you said your husband, is it husband, not partner? Yeah. He's not really into it at all.
Nope.
How does that put any strain there? Because I know that in my home life, when I'm always on these calls, my girlfriend's like, are you going on a call again? And I'm like, yes, I've got to make my future happen for me. Do you have conversations like that?
Sometimes, but I think, and it's definitely a piece of advice I would share on it, is that my husband's a key worker, and I'm single parent indefinitely at the moment. He's working away, and that's pretty more strain than anything on us at the moment. So I would say with him, no, we had a conversation at the very beginning over a year ago where I knew I wanted to, I really just get a buzz out of property. I had to do that at one of our houses in Dublin. this time last year, and I got such a kick out of managing the trades, you know, taking it from an absolute kip. It was just a dump. Somebody had just moved out of it after 10 years. And I got such a buzz out of transforming it and making it into a beautiful, livable home again. And that doesn't light his fire. But we agreed up front. He just, it's not his thing. He's not a risk taker. He finds the whole thing dealing with tenants stressful, which is why I deal with it. And we got clear up front. No, and so the old me would have gone at him like a terrier, said, come on, let's find a way, I'll do it, la la la. I would have argued. The wiser me in my 40s said, that's fine, no worries. And I got on my way and found somebody who wanted the same thing as I did. So in that respect, I would say, you know, if you're in that position, you're trying to get somebody on board who doesn't want to be on board, don't. It'll only lead to pain in the long term. Just leave it be and find somebody who does, and that's just so much easier. And then in the case of finding time to work on it, it's not an issue at the moment because he's not here. So it's a case of negotiation with my kids as opposed to him. But yeah, I have my own. It's financial independence, and particularly for women, is something I'm really passionate about. And this, for me personally, is really important because I haven't had my own income. I gave up my corporate job when my first child was born 12 years ago. And I'm getting to the stage now, midlife, of going, you know what, I really want that back. I want that independence back. And this was a big part of that for me. So Corona for us was a massive stress initially because our sole income to the house got turned off overnight for about 8 months. And we were sweating quite a lot over that. And he works in the aviation industry. So it had gone into free fall. There were redundancies left, right, and centre. We didn't know if his company was going to survive. And that to me was a massive red flag. Okay, it may come back, it may not, but I don't like the fact that our whole survival and being able to pay our mortgage and our food, etc., is dependent on one income. And that really scared me. So that really, I had started on the property journey, but I hadn't really given it any massive traction. So when that happened last March, that just put a rocket up my ass, and I just got moving at the rate of knots and have made so much progress. But that's been my driver, to never ever be in that vulnerable, exposed state again. So
it sounds like, though, what you've worked out is that you are running your property business from home, aren't you? Because the sources up
yep.
there, they manage it, and you just have to network as much as you can.
Yep.
And then you can find together people to work with, send them whatever you need to send up there, and then it's done. So sorry, I really need to put that on silent.
Don't worry.
No, that's fantastic. And you're right, there are so me and my partner are key workers, and we both work. So our daughter's at school right now. But I do appreciate there are a lot of women at home who, especially if you've got young children, can't go out to work, like not necessarily or as many hours as they'd like to, and they might be stuck at home for some of the day. And it's good to have something else to do. And I know a lot of women feel stuck, that they can't even go back to work because their partner may or may not wish to share that home responsibility. It's almost I won't go into it too much because it's quite a political conversation. But yeah, I can definitely see that it's fantastic that you found a way to do this, and you did it in quite a short period of time, actually. And you've stressed actually as well that COVID, as scary as it was, also gave you maybe a bit of a push that you perhaps needed a little bit to make it happen. And I'm really pleased for you that you've got where you are now, and it seems like the strategy and the goal ahead is you're on that path already, and that's amazing. That's fantastic. Well,
yeah, no, it was, and I won't underestimate. I mean, the stress of the beginning of it. I mean, there were days I was doing call during the week, and I had to send in through images about an article I was doing actually, and that image of just your hand just above water, and literally feeling like I was going under in March. Like, you know, I won't underestimate, and people are still having that experience now. You know, it's been detrimental, and it's been very, very tough. But had I not had that experience, I wouldn't have had that massive kick to move, because I did need it. It had been petering away in the background for 5-6 months in my head, but I'd done not much with it. But when this hit, it was like, right, okay, you really need to prioritize this now. And it's amazing how much you clean up your time. I mean, I hate, I love cooking, but I hate planning. And I wasted so much time meal planning every day. And when this happened, I was like, right, okay, we had a set menu, and we still have a set menu for lunch and tea, and it rotates whatever. It makes it saved me hours every week, which I then could put into the business. It kind of sharpened up how we home educate. I had to bring the kids on board more with chores and stuff. We had to get a better structure to our days. So it just tightened everything up where there was no slack. There was no hours and hours wasted, just dilly-dallying, fanning about doing not much. Every little minute was accounted for. And when I got to the stage of, I did my 4 estate agency exams in December, 2 back to back on 2 different dates. Each subject was about 150 hours each, I think, and you're supposed to complete them in 18-24 months. But me being me, I got exemptions off 2, and I had 4 left. So I was like, right, I squeezed them in, sweet talked the person in the exams office to stretch out the exam thing so I could get 2 in on the one day. Got childcare set up for my kids, and then every weekend, every morning, every evening, every minute of spare time I had, I studied my ass off to get those, because it just meant so much. And I hadn't studied in maybe 15 years or so. So my grey matter was pretty needed a good old stretch after that. But it was so fulfilling, I think, as a female who kind of a little bit gone to sleep and totally slipped into, or consciously made the choice to be mum primarily was my role. It just gave me such a boost of energy, and friends commenting, wow, you're seem much more buzzy and full of energy than you were before. It was a really cool thing to do. But yeah, it wasn't easy, but it definitely encouraged anybody who is kind of feeling like they need more, and getting kind of a nudge towards it. Maybe don't wait for the kind of gripping pain to hit before you do anything. Keep taking those little baby steps day by day, and it does come together before you know it, because it's definitely worth it, I think, to have that, and to get that sense of fulfillment, if it's property that gives it to you, or whatever it is, just to go for it.
Excellent. Thank you so much for all your knowledge sharing. I really appreciate that. I know you need to get back to your kids and start making dinner, so I won't keep you any longer. I'll just ask you one more thing. Is there anything, if you had to give one key bit of advice to anybody who was thinking of getting into property, what would that look like? What would that be?
I think surround yourself with good people. And even on the tough days, pick up the phone to one of those people, whether it's online. I mean, there's lots of people, including yourself, who I've never met in person, but who have been, so giving of their time and advice. And, I'm in that position now, thankfully, to be able to share, to do an interview like this and share, and hopefully help somebody else. So it's been key. And on those days where, your head's down and things are not going the way you planned, then you have those people around, and those people don't necessarily have to be in your own home, because in mine, my husband isn't on board with what I'm doing. He's not against it, but he's not on this path with me, and that's fine. But you do need people who understand what you're trying to do, and who are supportive of that around you. I think that's really fundamental, because they have everything you need to get you to help you succeed, whether it's the contents, the contacts, whether it's the knowledge, advice, the experience. Everything you need can be in that circle, and choose those people wisely, because there are a lot of not so giving individuals, but I have found far the amount of people who were so helpful in various communities online, many of whom I haven't met, were so, I would say, key to me getting where I've gotten. And yeah, so that, I would say, that's my top tip, is surround yourself with really supportive people, experienced people in property. And that's vital, in my opinion.
But that was like brilliant that you said that, because my Facebook group is all about bringing people together and learning together. And we've got a free networking event tomorrow, which I know Sunday evenings isn't great for everybody, but for me it works out because I work full time. So Sunday evening is good for me. So hopefully you can make it. If not, no problem. Whenever you can, I would love to see you there. And yes, we can all learn together. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time again, and have a lovely jubbly evening.
You too. Thanks, Shona.
See you later.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.